What's up YouTube, it's Jay bringing you another After Effects tutorial, and in this one I wanted to show you how you could quickly animate some alerts to use on your streams and in your videos. Now games are honestly where I get a lot of my inspirations from, and recently I've been playing Battlefront 2 and I'm pretty impressed by the graphics and the designs they got in the game. Every time you get a new objective you get this animation right here. I thought it looked pretty cool and I wanted to give you Star Wars fans something relevant to the theme as well as simple to make. So before we get started, I want to remind you that you can find the template files and those files in the Discord for download for free for you guys. So if you enjoyed this video or you find it helpful at all, please leave a like. I would really appreciate it, and I do release free things in almost every single video, so make sure you subscribe, that way you're not missing out on anything. Let's get started. Here we are in After Effects. This is how the animation looks. And we're going to split this animation into two parts. One is the lights, which are the red things, and the other one is the text. Simply, we're going to go ahead and create a new composition, 1920 by 1080 at 10 seconds. The first thing you want to do is create a 5 pixel stroke rectangle as thin as you want your lights to be. And this size is okay for me. And then I'm going to go ahead and click layer, auto trace, hit OK, and this will give me an auto trace shape layer with masks. I'm going to go ahead and delete my original shape layer, go to my next auto trace layer, delete the top mask. Just look for Saber in your effects and presets. If you do not find it, it is a downloadable plugin. You can find it in the links in the description, and then once you apply it onto your auto trace layer, you want to go ahead into customize core and select layer masks under core type. The next thing you want to do is go to render settings. Make sure the composite type is transparent and the alpha mode is mask core. Once you've settled on certain settings, you want to go ahead and duplicate this auto trace layer. Bring it down by holding shift. Now you got your original starting position. Move up to 1 second and then select both layers, hit the letter P and make a keyframe for both positions. And then at 1 second and 15 frames, and select one at a time and move them to whatever desired position you prefer to fit your text. Now before 1 second, we want to select both, hit Ctrl Shift D, which will cut your shape layers like this. Now go in the middle of those two separate ones you got and do the same thing, and then the selected ones you want to shorten them from the front and the back as well as the front ones. It doesn't matter how much, that really actually depends on you. What I want to do is actually offset one. That way they have a little bit more of a glitchy effect before they move away from each other. Now the same thing you want to do at the end. You display the name up to 3 seconds. And now you can reverse your position keyframes by copy pasting them. So copy this one, paste it after 15 frames. And then copy this one first. And then the beginning one, paste it after 15 frames, and then do the same thing, move it back a little bit, do the same thing here and just delete. Now again, we can offset them a little bit, that way we get a little bit of variation. Now what you want to do with all of those layers, select them and then put them all in a pre-composition and make sure you move all the attributes into the new composition. We're going to go ahead, select our rectangle tool and create a new rectangle right on top of those two, just like so. And then we're going to do the same thing, hit layer, auto trace, OK, delete the shape layer and then delete the top mask. I'm going to go inside my pre-composition here to copy the saber effect and paste it onto my new auto trace layer. At the very end of this animation, we get a rectangle like so. All you got to do is drag the beginning all the way to the end of this here. We want to go ahead and into the mask, and as you can see there's already a keyframe created for the mask path. You want to move that keyframe all the way to your indicator, and then at 15 frames after, you want to increase the size of your shape. But before we do that, you want to move your pre-composition to see how big it is. That way we move it the exact same size that we need. You want to control double click on any of the points and then just move each side to whatever position you prefer. Let's see how this looks if we bring this shape layer back to the beginning. As you can see, sometimes there is a little bit of variations like this. All you have to do is just delete those little keyframes and maybe adjust it a little bit. Make sure it's straight, that way it looks straight. Perfect. Add our text. We want to make sure it fits, so go ahead to about 2 seconds. Hit the letter T. Either type the full sentence, or what you could do is type each on its own. So new, fall, O, W, ER. New follower here. Pre-compose all those layers, even though they are messed up right now, that's okay. You're gonna go ahead inside and then adjust them. You want to leave your indicator where you want your text animation to begin, which is for me right here, right after those two open up. And then go ahead inside the position, the composition, move everything to this line. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the layer for new, so that way it kind of flashes before it begins, and then move my indicator to 1.15 seconds, hit Ctrl Shift D again, and move everything back a little bit, get another cut, hit Ctrl Shift D, make it a little bit smaller. Now I'm gonna go ahead, give them a little bit more variation. Let's see how it looks. Alright, so we want to make sure everything disappears right at this moment. So we're going to go inside our composition, select everything, Control Shift D, and then delete everything that is left. And then we're going to move in a little bit, cut those big ones again, Control Shift D, and do that again. And then go ahead and play with them a little bit, so that way we can get more flashy effects going on at the end as well. Perfect, this looks pretty good. Now the final touch for this part is once the name is displayed, so around 6 seconds, we want to go ahead and adjust the start offset, which will give us this loop effect just a little bit, and then change the evolution until it sits perfectly in the middle up top, just like this. And then bring back the offset to 0. Now at 6 seconds you want to go ahead and keyframe the start offset from 0. And then at 7 seconds you want to go ahead and move it all the way to 100. Hit F9 to ease this keyframe, and this is pretty much what we got. After the name is displayed, it just fades away nicely. The last thing I do is create a new solid of any color, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a fractal noise effect on it. Make sure it's turbulent sharp, change it to block. Play around with the contrast and the brightness to get more variation, and then you want to go to transform and make sure uniform scaling is unchecked. Go ahead and change the width and the height to whatever you prefer, as well as the complexity to show more or less blocks. Now the purpose of this is we're gonna go ahead and pre-compose it, move all the attributes, hit OK. We can make it invisible. Next thing I want to do is add a displacement map onto the composition, which is right under, which is the text. And then select the cyan layer we created and make sure it says source. Now here what you can see is it's a little bit edgy now, and it's actually reflecting what's inside. So what you want to do, if you play with the amount of the horizontal displacement, you can see it's getting displaced by however it's shaped inside here. To animate this, we simply have to create a keyframe at 1 second for the text, which is at -60 horizontal displacement, and then at 1.15 we want it to go back to 0. Now if you hit U, you can already see your keyframes. I do want to have a little bit more effect on it, so let's do 30, that way it's going the opposite way, and then at 2 seconds it goes back to 0. Create a duplicate of this text layer and select the bottom one, add a tint effect and change the color to red. Something to note about the copied layer that is on top without the tint, which is the white original one, you now want to change it again to cyan. So now we got this nice cool red effect. Actually, I'm not sure why I use red. Let's use a blue. See how this looks. This looks pretty good. I think we're done here. So everyone, that's gonna be a wrap. Thanks for sticking around, and remember, you can get those files. Go ahead, grab them, use them, enjoy them, and remember, stay creative. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.